this is a Jennifer Road.
Sharp left.
So not down there, up there.
Up here.
So I'm taking a picture of a Jennifer Road.
On the way
to a little cider place, maybe. We shall see. If it's a mud track, then probably not.
We are here at Dorset Nectar Cider Farm, out in the middle of nowhere, to try some cider. Obviously this time of year there's not a lot there, but they harvest in this time of year in December, depending on the variety, they said.
Open this way. For the kids. It's good, babe.
It's good.
Do you want one of these, or do you want to try, or were these, did I taste anything that you suggested from over there? Okay.
Yes. This we are medium sweets, sparkling, and another medium sweet sparkling, and most popular fruit cider.
Okay. Which one would you help me drink? Because I know I can't drink that whole bottle. Okay, here we are on the crazy road. One more time on our way out, hopefully finding a bigger road for the next part of the journey.
Turn left, then take the next right.
Turning left. Turning left.
After 140 yards, turn right.
Down this sketchy little road. No.
Take
It's
the next right.
perfect mom lane right here. You're right. I bet. Yep, this is it. Still some mom road. 1.2 miles. With some laybys, we hope, somewhere along the line. Dad needed a challenge. He hadn't been on any of these roads yet.
You have to keep an eye out and remember where the laybys are, in case you have to back up.
1 mile.
There's one.
Sunshine, blue sky. Doesn't get much better, even on a little farm road. And away we go. Round the hedge. Big tall hedge.
There's a little village over there.
There is.
A couple houses. We are here at Sherborne Abbey in Sherborne. Sherborne is just near Salisbury. Ironically, we just went through the town of Yeovil on the way here. This little building is the Weybridge House. The bridge was removed in the 1950s to widen the road. I just drove on this road and I'm not sure they finished widening it yet. The church close. the altar. This is the ceiling of the altar area. These are actual regimental colors, some of them dating back to the early 1800s, just displayed here in the open. It was built around the 1140s through the early 1200s. It was the precursor to Salisbury, where they moved the diocese to Salisbury. This is the lane to our bed and breakfast, Little Acorns. Our hosts, Chris and Reg, have been wonderful. They recommended a couple walks, the ones we've taken already. They recommended the pubs we ate at, including the Horse and Groom here in Woodgreen. It's just been an outstanding visit. Wonderful place. Thanks so much, Chris and Reg, for a wonderful vacation.
Holiday.
This is Little Acorns, our bed and breakfast. There's our room window on the left. It's just their home, and it has a couple extra bedrooms.
Beautiful home.
It is just beautiful. We'll show you some in the back here in a minute. They have really lovely gardens. This is their backyard. Garden, as they call it. Right there is where we watch the badgers eat at night. The badgers are back tonight. We didn't get to see them last night. We saw them the first night they were here. They put some food out to feed them in the evenings, and around 8 or 8:30 they always seem to come up. And she told us to walk down this way, over by the steps, and to stay on the steps, because she said the stone steps are slick. Just beautiful. It's been a very nice, tranquil stay. We've been the only ones here. The first night we had some other guests with us, Jackie and Ian, and they only spent one night here, and then we've had the place to ourselves pretty much. It's a lovely setting. They work very hard on their garden. We're obviously here late autumn with all the leaves and the trees. Reg makes birdhouses.
Oh my, look at that
It's just lovely, and they have a little place to sit out back here. and watch the wildlife. We couldn't think of a better choice or place to have spent our time in New Forest than here at Little Acorns and Woodgreen.
Here's the ponies coming to get a bite. If Reg goes out to feed them, regardless, we're going to have to shoo them on because we need to go out there to go down to Sunday roast. But aren't they the sweetest things? 4 little ponies waiting by the gate.
This is out the window of our room, the gate into the drive of our bed and breakfast. These are the wild horses, or the free running horses might be better. And they come here because I believe Reg and Chris feed them
Little nibbles
of pony pellets.
They called them.
So they come here and they wait until somebody shows up.
Oh, little fates today. And it's the same.
Right there by our car, on our way, we're walking out to go have Sunday roast, and here they are, standing by our car. And over there. Hanging out. They thought I had some food for them, I think. The weather's a little getting worse today. We're taking a down day. We're walking down to the village store in Woodgreen. This is where our entrance to our bed and breakfast is, and the wild ponies are out today. Well, there's a bunch of horses in the green today. Jennifer counted 16, including the 5 that were down by the bed and breakfast. Just right here in the village. This is our little walk down to the village and to the pub, where we hope it's not going to rain on the way home. More ponies on the way back. We forgot to talk about these mounds and ditches. All of them in here. So apparently these date back quite a few hundred years to when they were digging gravel for Bremer House, and they dug it out here. You can still even see the cart paths right there. And Chris told us that they just came up here and dug out the gravel here, and then obviously over time the grass grew back, but these aren't naturally occurring holes. They dug them up. We are out for a walk right now. Started out near the little village of Frogham at the Abbotswell parking car park, and we're trying to figure out which way to go.
I'm a slowpoke. I've got a bit of a twitchy knee, unfortunately.
There's our car.
It is.
Right up there next to the open hatch.
Yep.
Well, we've been trying to get our bearings here. Tons of trails to start out. Not a lot of trail sign markings. You can basically make your own route. I hope we are headed towards Ogden Farm area down by a little creek. There's Ogden's farm right there.
Good job.
So we're working our way down by the river, and there's ponies, horses. I can see them out there. The white one you can see really good. There's a couple over there.
There's some coming over there on the edge.
Yep.
And a car. Maybe from somewhere. Surely not through here. But,
Well, this is what we came here for. There's a donkey over there having a bite to eat. There's a horse. I got my sunglasses. Just meandering around. There's a pretty black little pony there. Horned cattle. We're just meandering our way. There isn't really a trail. There's some paths here and paths there, and can't tell whether it's a people trail path or a animal path or what it is. A little off trail. This is the brook we're following. They've obviously had a lot of rain. Oh, we get to ford this little river here. Right across here. Jennifer found a place up here.
This is an opportunity for Craig to fall in the river or creek. I found a nice little one step around the water up there. But I was not going across slick logs, but he accomplished it.
This is a walk through Alder Hill. They mark out a variety of named enclosures, which we think are fenced in or fenced off areas.
I actually think what these narrow lanes are used for is when they do the counting once a year and they herd the horses and the cows and the pigs, if there are any, through these small enclosures to where they're going to check them for health and make sure they're marked and that kind of thing. It's what I think, that's what I read in some historic New Forest book about the common grazing rights, but I'm obviously not going to bet my life on it, but I believe that's what they were for. I'm smiling.
We're gonna go straight up that grass path.
Not go around the corner.
Nope. This is actually a road, I think. On the bridge. Oh, the ferns are heather.
I'm pretty sure they're called bracken. They call it bracken once it's dead. And that's what they use to thatch.
Bracken.
B-R-A-C-K-E-N.
What do they use it for?
I believe, well, back in the day they used it for everything. For their floors, to keep the mud down. But now I think they use it primarily for thatch. I'm sure they fed their stock with it also.
Pretty. Well, this is the end of the enclosure. We are now headed up, and I think we're going up to that ridge up there, but I'm not quite sure. We'll see how far we go, or where the trail connects, but I think it's back up that way somewhere. I think we go up there. Well, we did go up on the ridge, I said, and I believe if you can see it, that tan trail over there that goes along that ridge line, that's where we are headed back to. We'll see. Here we are on the ridge. We were down that big grass area, and that brook stream is what we walked along. And you can see all the horses way off in the distance, kind of. So these are cement markers and an arrow somewhere. I think actually we're walking right up it. There's the point of the arrow. This is all here because it was an old bombing range, World War II.
And it used to be all covered up with the landscaping, and then they decided to clean it off again as part of the historical significance that everyone's losing. I mean, they're trying to keep their little part of the country's bit alive from World War II.
I don't know what it was supposed to point you to. The bombing range down there? Or that direction somewhere? I don't know where the bombing range actually was. Couldn't have been in here because there'd be signs about unexploded ordnances everywhere. This is the other side of our ridge. Our ridge we're walking on is called Hampton Ridge. And I'm guessing that little village down there could be Frogham.
I'm guessing not. It's because I think Frogham.
So the village out in the distance on the next ridge we think is God's Hill. Godshil. Don't know how to pronounce it. Godshill. Looks like God's Hill. On the other side of our ridge, Hampton Ridge. This way.
Yes.
Getting close to where we started. Some horses down there. I don't know if you can see them. A white one, black one over there. Somebody's dog. There's our trail that we're heading down.
It's not a trail, it's a road, it's a cycle path. Finishing up on a cycle path.
But it's easy footing and there's no mud.
But that's okay, I was going to say, because it's kind of nice to finish without having to worry about your footing. First recorded 12:15.
Okay.
This is Abbott's Well. First recorded in 1215 as a site of fresh water. 1215.
That was 1,000 years ago.
Can't even conceive of something like that. Plus it was recorded and people have found the documentation. 1,000 years. Wow.
Finishing up the last bit of our walk up this little road to the lower parking lot. I think we were supposed to start somewhere along here. We just had trouble finding a place to get started with where we parked. You can start everywhere.
We always look for a designated trailhead and there really isn't one. So you kind of find your own way to start, and then you can see the trail once you get going a little bit. But
this is the well house. Guess what it's next to? Here we are, back where we started. We were down in that meadow.
Stop your hike. It'll be all over this.
And we were up on that ridge over there. It was a lovely hike. A big thanks to Chris and Reg for sending us out here. Okay, we're starting on our second walk in the New Forest. This time we are hiking right here next to the bed and breakfast. The Hale and Perlew Hill Walk or something. And you can hear the neighbors blowing their leaves.
Well, the badgers scurry off down this way when they go. In the backyard, it just means that they come this direction.
True.
Sorry, my bad now. They're getting quite tall for old hip lady. This farm. Now where? That's what it looks like.
That way, I think.
I twink.
Just through some local farms and farmland. This little thatched roof cottage has a name. It's called Fernie Homet. And we go through these stiles right here. And down in through the forest again, up and over another one. If we didn't get to do a lot of stiles yesterday, we've certainly done a lot today so far. Well, that's an interesting bridge and walk through there, but that's where we go. This bridge is super slick with the leaves and the water and the rain that's happened. Very pretty down here.
Very pretty.
Tranquil.
Huh?
Tranquil.
Tranquil. Peaceful.
That was an interesting little bridge. We've never done anything like that before, have we? The national parks in the UK, because farms and things have been here as long as they have, there's farms and residences everywhere on the national park land. So here we are, just walking through a farm, big home down there, some old building on toadstool foundation. That's kind of neat. And a pasture with cattle back in the background. Sure, the trees are pretty here.
Huh?
Sure, trees are pretty here. We don't know what kind of tree these are, these huge leaves. They're giant.
I mean, they're a foot long and 5 or 6 inches across at the most. They're like an elm, used to be, but huge. No idea. I bet they were beautiful just a couple weeks ago. But they're lovely on the path now for us to walk on instead of mud.
Little farmhouses as we walk around the lanes, and this is how I cheat. I use all trails and follow along, so it's kind of cheating for an old navigator. But it's really handy.
Craig takes a million videos of me crossing these things, so I'm giving him the opportunity to trip, fall, but
I made it.
he made it.
So hiking through this forest and farmland national park, these are the things we have to look for everywhere. They'll say footpath with a little sign or something. They call them finger signs because it looks like a finger pointing. But we have to find these things in places like this as we go through and navigate our way around. We are now entering Hale. The Old Thatch is the name of this cottage. This way, I believe. Okay. This has been an interesting walk because we're in the forest, we're in pastures, we're through people's farms, we're on roads, a mix of a little bit of everything. Well, this is where our hike gets its name, Hale Purlieu. Hale Purlieu, 2 miles back to Woodgreen, that's where we came from. And then Hatchet Green is this way, and Bremer is about 3.5 miles. Just a little village.
Where are we going?
Here we are at Hatchet Green, which ironically is where we were before. We came out by that white thatched roof cottage down there, and then we took kind of a back way over there by the town hall, that cream colored building. Now we are headed back kind of on the road for a while, back towards Woodgreen. There's a little red telephone box, a little post box that looks kind of like the thing Jennifer uses to hold her stamps, the little wooden thing. The old post office right there. That's the name of that place. Dove's ground, and this white building is the old post office. Just some of the landscape right near Hatch Green. And Jennifer's all excited because she's looking for landmarks. She found the school, the old post office, the cattle guard, which is back that way, and now the cemetery, all marked on her ordnance survey map, which now means she's comfortable that she's in the right place she wants to be. Some old and new in here.
Surrounded by hedgerows so the animals can't.
In loving memory of Philip Phillips, who died March 9th, 1966, and his wife Edna Grace Phillips, who died November 16th, 1995.
Oh wow, so that's very current. And then there's obviously the older ones that you can't read. The holly and the ivy, when they are both full grown, of all the trees that are in the woods, the holly bears the crown. Oh, the rising of the sun and the falling of the leaves, the playing of the merry organ, sweet singing in the choir. That's an old English carol, and it's very true because there's holly everywhere. And we stopped so I could sing that song because I was singing it just as I was walking, but there's no berries on this, but we'll find one that has the bright red berries on it, hopefully. And it is brilliant, and they do look like a royal plant with a crown.
Our wonderful bed and breakfast hosts, Chris and Reg, told us on this hike we might see some of the old long-horned Highland cattle, and sure enough, they were right. So glad we went on this hike. This is Hale House, at the end of a lane of trees that we didn't walk down, but the lane of trees goes all the way back there. We must have walked at least 1.5 miles along this aisle of trees here. You can see they're just huge and old, beautiful. So what a contrast. I mean, here's this huge house, and we've been through little farm villages, and we've been through old small farms, and we've been through pastures and small villages, and now this big manor house. More of Hale House. We don't know who owns it, but it's certainly a big complex. An old well there. Go over here and I'll show you closer. That's a cool old well right there. This is St. Mary's Church. How long did they say the church had been here? So this church has been here since 1715, and then there's been a church on the site since the 1400s.
14 something, I remember.
Just a small country church. Well, this little bridge is not on the route that we had, but we decided to go over here anyways. This is the River Avon, which is the one that runs through Salisbury and right by the cathedral that we've walked by in that park up there. And it looks pretty high.
Pretty high. Extremely high.
Just a simple little old concrete bridge, obviously out of commission now except for walking. One more. Jennifer found us this little path along the river, which is way prettier than the way I thought we were supposed to go, which is up by the road.
Well, you may be turning around and going back up on the road if this is not connected to the road eventually. How about, or if it just leads down to a fishing hole on the river.
But it's right here by the river. Rose bushes are 10 feet tall. This is some Avon pathway here. It looks man-made. Like maybe it was a canal of some kind or something along the river. Obviously all overtaken now. Well, this was a good trail Jennifer found. We hiked to the end of the road and there was a fence, wooden fence. So we came back across this bridge, which we should have done the first time, I guess. And now we have to walk the road just a short ways. We are back in Woodgreen on the north side of the village after cutting across and through and up and down. Up and down 3 stiles, maybe the last ones of our trip this time. So this is our little triangle on our way back. There's the footpath sign right there. We started over here. The actual car park and trailhead is down by the pub. And back to our bed and breakfast. This is our little triangle near our bed and breakfast. So if you don't want to go into the village, we'll take a left. We are in the village of Bremer today, a little village right next to Woodgreen. It's an old Saxon church. I read in a book about this super old tree, but I don't remember how old it is. You can see the church. There's a sundial up on the top. And the stone is just mortared together stone, unlike the building blocks of the other churches we see. With a wooden bell tower.
Yeah. It'd be
It's the bell ropes to the bell tower. All the crests. These are paintings, believe it or not, that still remain from medieval times, maybe the 11th or 12th century. Fascinating. This Saxon church was built in the 12th century. St. Mary's Church is an old Saxon church built in the late 10th and early 11th century. The rocks on the outside that are visible now used to be covered in a yellow plasterish type material. This is the church close or green, and then it just looks out into this typical countryside.
city boy.
Our pheasants are huge here. We've seen a lot of them on this estate, so they must have them or breed them or let them run and not hunt them. Well, this is Bremer House. The same family has had it since when? 1600s?
I think 1537.
1537 maybe, or
that light just came on in that house.
it's giant.
Because the family still lives there.
There's still people living here. It's still a living home for somebody.
We're not going to.
Complete with its own church and clock tower. I can't even imagine inheriting, let alone living in a house like this. Not just the size, but the upkeep. It would be a full-time job just to manage the estate itself. Our final day here in Woodgreen. This is actually the Bremer Mill. This is the bridge that comes from the main road into Woodgreen. We're going to meander our way to London today and get rid of the car and go to the airport, but this is our day, started today. One last beautiful day. Bremer Mill. This is the bridge Reg mentioned in his stories to us about the large trucks knocking the top row of stones off and they have to replace them all the time.
One of our last lovely little things is this little hump bridge by the mill. Peaceful, blue sky morning.
Oh, it's Crane, I bet, the way that
Maybe.
blew.
We are up on Castle Hill in the New Forest. Wouldn't have seen this view yesterday, would we?
We would not.
And back out this way, right down here, is the mill we were just at. And there is Bremer House.
I can see the river.
There's so much water in there. Seven, 8.
We are on the B3078. Cutting our way through New Forest, just pulling over and looking at the views. Horses down there. There's horses down there. It is 7 degrees Celsius, which we think is somewhere around 40 degrees-ish. We can't remember the math, and we don't even have a coat on today. See how the grass is all short, just continued eating by the wildlife.
Right?
This is the Dead Man's Hill Overlook.
What?
I went and read the sign to the overlook. Parking. Pretty aspen, I bet, or something like that down there with the white birch, maybe some kind of birch.
Not aspen, birch. Beautiful white bark. That one's pretty, even though it's lost all its leaves with the burgundy.
Yeah, right there.
this is an interesting view out our hotel room at Heathrow Airport on the 12th floor of a Hilton Garden Inn next to the runway. We have quite the view of air travel coming and going. One's up there in the air. I'll see if I can zoom in a little bit. There we go. Our finale to our England trip this year. Tomorrow morning, nothing happens. We'll be on one of those planes or a plane on some other runway.